Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel for another Cobra Kai Season 5 interview. I've got the creators of the series, Jon, Josh, and Hayden. I am so happy to be talking to you yet again. Congratulations on another wonderful season.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So I'm going to warn everybody watching this right up top. We're just like going into it. We're going for all the gory spoiler details. So if you have not binged season 5 of Cobra Kai, this is not the interview for you. We have other interviews that cover that kind of stuff, but this is all spoilers. All right. Actually, before I even touch any spoilers, one thing I really wanted to ask you guys was about the release date change and what those conversations were like, because it seemed like you had carved out a pretty good spot for yourself over the holiday season. So what inspired the change to September this time around?
It was really just the Netflix ask. I think they looked at their schedule, what they had on there, and they were looking for a big show to drop in September. And they asked us to plow into a season 5 as soon as we finished making a season 4. So we had no break in between. Immediately got back from filming. We were in post on season 4, and they said, start writing season 5 and go make it. So it was just a Netflix ask, and we were having so much fun. We just dove back in with our writing staff and got back on set.
I mean, and technically it's still around a holiday weekend, so you still get that kind of release as well.
Yeah, I mean, seasons 1 and 2 came out, I think, around this weekend when it originally premiered on Netflix. And I think if you look at that data, that was the beginning of the Netflix, takeover of Cobra Kai. All of a sudden, everybody knew what it was. So it wasn't the most nervous ask in terms of us saying, I don't know, can it, do okay on that weekend? I think they have enough data to look at and say, they feel like it's going to do fine.
And the truth of the matter is, I feel like you guys would literally be fine any weekend of the year.
Yeah, it's kind of random, how it all happened. It's the interesting thing is, at YouTube, we originally came out. It was like early May of 2018, and then our second season came out around the same time, 2019. And then with the pandemic and the switch to Netflix, there was like almost like a year and a half, almost a 2-year gap. So those early fans remember the break between seasons 2 and 3 was really long. But if you're a Netflix fan, like Josh said, it came out in like around this time 2 years ago. So there's been like 4 seasons in 2 years if you just jumped on the Netflix train. So it's it's kind of a little random at times.
We'll get to this later, but you spoiled us via Netflix, and now I'm super stressed about how long the wait could be for season 6, but I'll save that for later. First, to get into some of the story points here, a little bit of a broad question for you guys. Of everything that we see going down in season 5, what storyline would you say changed the most from inception to what we see in the finished product?
Nothing. Yeah, I think we always, the three of us go into a writer's room with a fairly firm sense of where we kind of sort of want to end the season. We do that every season, and it gets a little blurrier from season to season as the branches of the tree just get longer and spinier. This year, I think we knew exactly where we wanted to end the season. There were just micro choices along the way. Whether you take a left here and have to take 3 more lefts to get back on the road, or if you're, saving some of those turns for another season. But of everything that's on the screen, I don't think anything changed so significantly from, oh, wow, I thought we were going to do it like that, but we did it like that. There are actually some things that are visually so close to the hive mind intention of what those earliest discussions were with our writers that it's remarkable that we're able to kind of keep that going. And some of that is just how fast we wrote season 5 also. Like Jon said, we were thrust right back into a writer's room, right into production. And, it required us to have to make some choices and stick to them in terms of, we're going to do that. That's going in the outline. That's going in the script. Oh, we're shooting that, in a couple of weeks. And there is something anxious and nervous about flying without a net sometimes, but it's also kind of invigorating that you're literally creating in real time and it's taking shape and you have to own it. And I think to do that in a season 5 is much, easier and more comfortable for us than doing that in a season 1 or 2, where you're making such specific, founding, tenets of the show that everything else needs to stand on the shoulders of. This one was an interesting one to put together for sure.
Okay, opening it up to the whole show to kind of build upon that a little bit. I don't know if this has ever happened to you guys, but can you give us an example of a time when I guess you kind of wrote yourself into a corner, didn't know how you were going to get out of that corner, but then kind of, put the work and the workshopping into it, and it's paved the way to something that we get to see today?
It's hard to think specifics. I mean, I can kick that off by saying we intentionally write ourselves into a corner at the end of every season. Not exactly knowing where we're not going, not knowing where we're not going to go, but knowing that it's a really tight, position to be in. The end of the first season, Kreese walks in. We knew enough about where we were going with that, but we had some really big questions that we had to talk about between seasons 1 and 2 as to what we wanted to give away right away with Kreese and his backstory. And is he good? Is he bad? Where does he live? Was a big one that we talked about. So it's not entirely writing ourselves into a corner, but it's writing toward conflict. Miguel falling off the balcony at the end of season 2 was another one.
That was the one that I was going to say. I was going to say that's the one where I felt like we had a sense of where we were going after that, but we knew that we ended that season in a pretty crazy way. The Miguel thing, and also the Allie thing at the end of the season. Like, we were writing Allie into our show through references without having any clue whether or not Elizabeth Shue was going to do the show.
That's the biggest one, probably. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Luckily, it worked out, and we had this like attitude that we were going to push and put positivity out into the world and hope that she would get excited by the creative and want to join the party. But that was the biggest one where we were just like, if you build it, she will come, was sort of the mentality. And there was definitely a chance that she could have said, nope, not doing it. And that would have been a rough one for us.
I'm a big believer in that mentality. I believe in manifesting things. So you guys did that there for sure. You already brought up Kreese. So I am curious, what was it like when you gave Marty the scripts for season 5? Was he like reading and saying like, where am I, and panicking?
We had to, prepare him for this, in advance. We didn't just give him scripts and say and have him do that. He loves this character, this world so much, and it was very difficult to tell him that there were going to be some episodes early in season 5 that he wasn't going to be in. But we just said, listen, it's about impact, and his character has tremendous impact. He wasn't in the first season until the very end, but that really set up the whole show. I mean, like that, him coming in at the end, gave this amazing cliffhanger to the first season that gave us a second season. And then it was like, oh, wow, now we get to explore Kreese in season 2. And it just got to that point where we felt in our series that, taking him off the chessboard was like a big kind of soap opera move. And in these soap operas, like, it's great when a character seemingly is dead or in a coma or wherever is away. And then it's like you forget about them just enough. And then all of a sudden they come back at the end of an episode. And it gives it, we just told him like it gives his character that much more power and presence. And you feel that like in our trailer, like he's not in the trailer until the very end. And then he makes that big impact. And it's kind of similar to, what it's like in season 5.
I'll just say I remember having the conversations with him because we knew we were making this decision and we knew we were going to have to talk to Marty about it because Marty loves being on the show. He loves playing this character. And we knew it wasn't going to be a simple, easy conversation. And kind of like back when we had him come in season 1 and he was lobbying to be in much earlier, we knew he was going to lobby and all that. And I remember him being very kind of, frustrated with like that he wasn't going to be there from the beginning. And I remember saying to him, I said, do you think we want to have this conversation with you? Do you think like, that I remember I was just like, we knew when we were making this creative decision that you were not going to be thrilled with this and that we were going to have to talk it through and go with it. But we have to always look at the show first and foremost and your character first and foremost. And from our, like, the bird's eye view that we have of the series, this is going to be a great thing for your character. Your character, even though you're not present for 5 episodes, when you show up, it's going to be a huge surprise, a big impact, and thrust you in for the rest of it. And how we end the season is going to be a huge thing for your character. So even though you're not there from the beginning, you're going to loom large and be a huge part of the season. And he fully got it, like right after we had that conversation, because he knows we're friends. Like, he's become a really good friend. He's one of our favorite people to hang with. He's such an ambassador of the character of the show, and just a guy who loves cinema and loves what we do. And it was definitely a tough conversation that we knew we were going to have, and it was predictable and awesome in the end, because
Well, anyone who's met Marty knows that he embodies Sensei John Kreese. When he leaves his house in the morning, it's where Kreese ends and Martin Kove begins is a very blurry gray line. So, when he's being told that, you're not going to be in the large part of, the first half of the season, he feels that so personally, because it's kind of like saying, we don't want Martin Kove around. And like John said, we had to separate the two and say, this is so good for the character. And it's some of our earliest conversations with, with Billy as well, in terms of Johnny's language and Johnny's attitude, because Billy walks down the street and, for years, just like Ralph does, hears all the catchphrases from the movie. And there is a little bit of blurred lines in terms of, where the human persona ends and the character begins. And it's a constant conversation of, like, some of these difficult things to swallow for the character are actually great for the character's story.
It was very, very effective. I was also very surprised by how convincing the stabbing scene was. I was in an absolute panic when I watched that, and deep down, I think I knew you guys would never actually kill him off, but it really got me for a little while. And that kind of brings me to my next question, because you have two characters that you tried to convey that they really could be dead, and then they're not. So what are the conversations like when you're working with, like, a fake out death like that, and making sure that it doesn't just feel like a device, but is serving the experience and the story overall?
It just felt like we built the story to a point where by episode 50 of this journey, there actually can be a life or death battle. And for Kreese, like, everything that was happening, we earned the point where it's like they could die. And so, and then you're like, do we do that? And, you kind of want your cake and eat it too. You want to create the feeling of the stakes and have these emotional moments. But at the same time, we love these characters. And so, I think, we found a way, a believable way where you could, in the moment feel like, oh my God, was that it? But then, these chess pieces are still around to be played with. We love all these characters, but if the death serves the story in the best way, then we'll do that. With Kreese, it just felt like, we had this opportunity to make it feel like, well, this could be like a redemptive ending, like the kind of tragic ending of John Kreese. Like, he's finally kind of figured things out in jail and opened himself up. And now it's like he dies by trying to stop a fight. Like, we could have ended it that way. And you get to feel that for a moment. And then he fakes the whole audience out. It's like, do you really think I'm going to have a redemption? Like, fuck you.
Well, you don't get to do this more than once in this series. I think, the Karate Kid franchise has a history of, having characters fake their own death, notably Kreese. So we definitely wanted to have those moments, but still play with our action figures a little longer. And I think the show has also killed off characters for real in a significant emotional way before. There's Tommy, there's Captain Turner, there's these big moments where, a character does die in this series. So it is possible, hopefully the audience is feeling in those moments, did that really just happen? Because, we don't shy away from that, when we need that for an impactful storyline, or when it, really assists the macro story we're telling. But this felt like a good moment, that double fake out, to really end this season in a happy, hopeful way, for Chosen, and in an ominous way for what does this mean now that Kreese got away with this.
You guys got me with both of those, and I can't believe the mix of emotions that I felt in such a short period of screen time there. Like, somewhat in a similar department, what were the conversations like in terms of figuring out how much blood and, like, I guess even gore to include in the new season? You have someone's finger chopped off, so when you have a viewership that spans so many age ranges, how do you figure out how far to push it in that department?
It, it's really just a matter of like, once you bring swords into the equation, like you're it's going to be weird for this, like, just do a whole sword fight and there's no contact. So we're just like I said, like we felt like we earned this fight where, like, okay, now we're in the valley and there's weapons, and like Chosen and Silver are out in like this in the hills by a pool, and there's a sword on side fight going on. And you need to have some amount of that. And I don't know, I mean, as a kid, like watching Star Wars, seeing Luke's hand get cut off and things like that, it's, you don't want to overdo the gore. That's not what this franchise is about. But at the same time, you want to make it feel like, when swords come out there, they there is the threat there. So,
well, also Johnny takes so much punishment in that 1-on-5, 1-on-6 fight that when he does get his charge up, you really want to feel that he's giving them what they're owed in that moment. And some of that was for them to experience some of the blood as well.
Okay, so bringing up Johnny in that moment, let's go to the whole baby storyline now. So with that, I'm curious, what was it like figuring out the right point in the season for Miguel and Robby to find out about that news, and also then figuring out the right way for the two of them to react to that, because they've just been through like a really intense relationship evolution themselves. So it felt to me like either they could have done what they did in the final show, or they're just teenagers. They could have been really hot-headed and angry about it.
We felt like they've been through the ringer with everything throughout the series. And, the first half of the season was really this journey to the two of them finally finding common ground. And we wanted to make the baby news something that happened after they had kind of worked things out through their fight. We loved we loved making it where fighting it out was kind of the answer, and that it came from Daniel's advice to Johnny, in a sense, unintentionally, and that it was really just them getting it out of their system. And we purposefully brought them to a place where the reverse could have happened, where Miguel could have kicked Robby off of a balcony and didn't. And in that kind of shocking, like deja vu moment for both of them, they were able to see things a little bit clearly and talk through things and have their apology. And once they've sort of like lowered the heart rate and calmed down, we love the idea of Johnny slipping, having the news slip out and having them take it well. Because, I think, both those characters are characters like, Miguel loves Johnny and loves his mother. And, earlier in the season felt like maybe there was a potential, sibling that to be had in his life when he was in his journey in Mexico. And Robby's somebody who's always wanted family. He's been a bit of a loner, and he's had, a challenging relationship with his mother, who's finally kind of come around. And it's certainly a tough relationship with Johnny. So this, they were in the right headspace, having sort of finally exercised the demons that they have between each other. So it felt like a great moment for them to be ready for an expanded family.
That apartment complex fight between the two of them is exceptional. I know we all love the big finale set pieces, but that was like A+ stunt work. And the two of them, I just can't believe how like much they've grown in terms of how convincing all of their fights are. But that one really in particular blew me away this season.
Yeah, we're so proud of them. They both give it, what, 100%. I mean, it's very rare that you have to put in one of their doubles unless they're doing some sort of crazy flip and falling from a height. They both have become just actually, very well-versed martial artists who put in the work. They want it to look good. They understand the story points. They understand their characters really well. and being able to move the camera, excuse me, move the camera in such a way that you actually see it's both of them. It helps you stay in those moments, so it doesn't feel like, you know, a Hollywood fight where you're on the back of a stunt double, on the back of a stunt double. You're actually following them through that whole journey from downstairs to upstairs, and it was remarkable to see them do that. And then, you know, we just loved working with our stunt team this year in terms of choreographing these fights in a way that really continues to tell such a story and a through line, and focuses on the relationship with every, you know, kick and punch. Every part of that fight is intentional in terms of calling back something that's happened in their relationship, calling back a specific moment from their balcony fight. It's all kind of boiling over, and we want the audience to feel that. You want to feel like, oh, is this the ultimate payback that's going to lead to even more tragedy?
Always one of the strongest elements of the show, and it just gets better and better every season. I'm always very impressed by that. Actually, I guess that's a good excuse to bring up the finale fight, because you guys set a really high bar with how you want to end your seasons with this huge fight with so many of the characters, but then you leave yourself with the pressure to keep raising the bar. Like, you want to give fans what they know they got in previous seasons, but you also need to make it different and show them something new. So what were the conversations like with this particular finale fight in terms of how you wanted to do that, but also make it different?
Well, I just remember in season 4 talking to Thomas Ian Griffith and him being like, you know, I'm really good with the sword, you know, and that's I remember remembering that, and you know, just going into season 5, we were just like, okay, like Daniel's bringing in Chosen. You know, Chosen is the type of person who is willing to kill people, like as we saw in Karate Kid 2, like, you know, that sequel took it to that life or death place, and you know, we just like the idea of like raising these stakes so that, you know, by the time you're reaching the season finale, you do feel this sense that like, wait, is somebody going to die over this? You know, like, but you understand why if you've been on the journey. And you know, it's a little bit like Star Wars, where these different fronts that are happening at the same time in the war. So you have the kids in the dojo, you know, having this all out skirmish while trying to get information on Terry Silver. You have a Terry Silver sword on size fight. You have Johnny taking on the Fist in the mansion there, and then it all comes back to a classic Silver Daniel rematch. It's a lot of fighting. It's a lot, and it's amazing how we're able to cram, you know, this stuff in. You know, it's our longest episode, and you know, it's just it's the payoff of the season. And when you have so many characters, there's lots of payoff, and it ends up becoming, you know, just a very long episode, but it's nonstop action.
We have a few more tricks up our sleeve for where we go from here, but it does get bigger every year. And we're trying at all times to make sure we're not plagiarizing ourselves at this point. You know, we've had tournament fights, we've had all out, you know, riots. We've had fights on multiple, platforms and places in terms of, you know, season 3, you know, had multiple fights going on, within one episode. This is probably the most wall to wall fighting we've had in a finale. And we wanted to make sure we were containing that, you know, once again, with these moments that you really feel. You want to feel every 1-on-1, every 2-on-1, every 10-on-10. It's always conducting the orchestra and feeling, you know, when do the cannons go off and it's full Tchaikovsky fireworks, and when is it, you know, an oboe solo. That's just kind of giving you different kinds of feels.
The fun part about this season's finale, though, is that like it's all ignited by drunkenness. It's just like all the villains of Karate Kid 2, 3, you know, like 1, 2, and 3 are just like, you know what? Fuck this. Let's just go over and beat the crap out of him, like in a belligerent drunk state. And like they go off and do that, and it starts this chain reaction of craziness.
Does your new show have anything to do with that? I know there's like a drunken element to that storyline too.
Oh, our new show is a whole other kind of beast. It's our new show is not something that you bring the families to. I'll say that. It's a throwback to all the kind of work that we did before Cobra Kai, but in such a in our belief, a revolutionary way for television. You don't see those big R-rated summer blockbuster comedies come out in theaters that much anymore. and Obliterated is kind of the TV equivalent of that, but with the huge
with an
action
R-rated,
comedies.
summer
Excuse me,
blockbuster action adventure also on top of it. Yeah,
that's what I was saying. I was about to say that it's the throwback to those action movies of our youth as well. That it's all of our skills thrown in one blender, and that's what Obliterated is. So it's a wild one. It's so much fun, and it's going to surprise people.
I like it. All right. Now is when panic mode sets in because I have to let you guys go soon. A couple questions that I don't even know if you'll be able to answer, but the Sakai Takei, is that still in play? Is that where Miyagi-Do is, if it's even called Miyagi-Do?
We know that it's happening. We now know that this is the biggest tournament in the world, and Daniel and Johnny and Chosen, have an entry point in there, and Cobra Kai also does, but we don't know what's happening with Cobra Kai right now. And yeah, we just love the idea of, constantly raising the bar and the levels, and like we said earlier, our the kids on our show are now next level martial artists. So they need a bigger challenge, and they will get one. But how that all plays out, we'll see.
Should I push pause on buying any more merch? Like, am I going to get a new name soon and then need all that merch?
No, it's a constant merch train. You need to have every level of the Cobra Kai. Each season, there's new merch. So it's really just the whole purpose of the show is just the merch. I wish we had a bigger cut in it, or any cut in it.
Yeah, I mean, we should own tattoo parlors at this point for all the Hawk cover-ups that people are probably trying to get.
Oh, honestly, I can't even imagine. Here's another Kreese question for you. If Kreese escapes and he's on the run, how dangerous can he be? Because I'm assuming he can't open another dojo. So what weapons does he have to contribute to whatever fight is happening?
I'll just say
he's been in war.
That of anybody in the series right now, Kreese is the most dangerous character because he has nothing to lose and he hates everybody. And he feels abandoned by, the only person that he was trying to help, in his own twisted way. So I would never count him out in terms of what he's able to pull off, in terms of what he's able to risk.
It's like everything, the season ends in a way where it's like, did we do it? It's over. We Cobra Kai's done. And yet there's this guy who just got out of jail who wants to kill everybody, there's looking up there. It's like, maybe there's a way that he'll just relax and not, he doesn't have to deal with revenge. And maybe it'll just be a peaceful rest of the way. We'll see how we play it.
I don't know. Kreese has always said that peacetime is just a lull between battles. So yes. We'll see. It might be peacetime right now, and we'll find out if it just remains peacetime.
I wouldn't
I'm sure it's just peacetime. Yeah. Season 6 is just totally comfortable. Nothing.
It's just relaxing. He just goes and karate witness protection, and the show just kind of ends.
I don't think Marty would approve of those scripts.
No,
probably not.
All right, I'll end with this one. I know you guys are juggling a lot, and this makes me feel very greedy, but can you give us any kind of sense of the writing and production timeline for season 6? How much can we expect to wait for new content?
We can't give you any specific timelines yet, but we are always thinking, we are always writing. The three of us, we've said it before, we are attached to the brain. We live together during production. We're living together right now as we're in production on Obliterated. Our Cobra Kai brains have never stopped. So even when we're not in the writer's room, we are making plans, we are moving forward. And as soon as there is, a date to share or a timeline to share, we will absolutely do it.
You don't want to share it right now, right here?
I'd love to. I don't think I'm allowed.
The cool thing is the new show that we're doing, Obliterated, is with Netflix and Sony, and they're great with saying, hey, you know what? Give this show Obliterated that Cobra Kai season 1 kind of treatment, and that's what we're doing right now. But we're all about making sure that we're back in Cobra Kai ASAP. It's really important for Netflix, and we can't not think about it. So it's it'll come, maybe not as soon as everybody wants, but it'll come.
All right, I'll take that. I feel like that's a fair response. I approve of this timeline. Now you guys can get back to work on Obliterated. I have to
Awesome.
let you go. Thank you so much for your time today. And yet again, huge congratulations and thank you for another great season of Cobra Kai. It is always a major bright spot in my TV viewing, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Perry.
Always
Thanks,
great talking
Barry.
to you.